Doggy says that lady is trying to get rid of Grandma.
My daughter said this right after playing with the family dog at my parents' house. Both I and my sister-in-law, who had been called that lady, were taken aback. "Hey, what are you saying?" "I'm so sorry, my daughter." I hurriedly apologized to my sister-in-law, and she replied with a strained smile.
"Oh, no, don't worry about it."
My daughter had always claimed she could talk to the family dog, but I dismissed it as childish imagination. What I was more concerned about at that moment was not upsetting my sister-in-law, who lived with my mother and took care of her. "That's incredibly rude, you know?" I scolded my daughter, but she pouted and said,
"But Doggy really did say that."
And then, as she continued speaking, her words shocked me even more. "My name is Amelia. I'm currently raising my 5-year-old daughter." That day, I had brought her to visit my parents' house because I heard my mother was not feeling well. At my parents' house, my mother lives with my brother, his wife, and their pet poodle. My mother is never lonely with such a lively household. The house is in my mother's name. My father has already passed away, but he left behind enough wealth to ensure my mother is comfortable in her old age. By the way, the poodle my daughter claims she can talk to is named Max. We've had him since before I got married and moved out, so he must be over 10 years old by now. In human years, that would make him somewhere in his 50s or 60s. My daughter Kate adores Max and always looks forward to playing with him. This time was no different. While I was talking with my mother and sister-in-law, Kate was playing with Max. And then she suddenly made that outrageous statement about my sister-in-law trying to get rid of my mother. "Carol, I'm so sorry. I'll make sure to talk to my daughter about this." I apologized profusely to my sister-in-law. Carol smiled awkwardly and said,
"Oh, no, it's fine. Don't worry about it."
Although I sensed something off about Carol's response, I was more focused on dealing with Kate. "Kate, you need to apologize to Carol. What you said was very rude." I scolded her. Kate, who had been laughing and playing with Max, suddenly got serious.
"But it's true. Doggy really said that."
She pouted. And then she began to relay more shocking information she claimed to have heard from the dog.
"Listen, it's a secret."
Kate whispered, making sure my mother and Carol couldn't hear.
"That lady is putting something weird in Grandma's food."
"What? Are you saying Carol is adding something to the food?" I asked, bewildered.
"I don't really know. Doggy said there's a strange smell in Grandma's food, and every time it's there, Grandma feels sick."
This revelation stunned me because my mother had been inexplicably ill and had been rushed to the hospital multiple times recently. "Can Max tell when this happens?" I asked Kate, half believing, half doubting. Kate seemed to ask the same question to Max and then said,
"Well, when it gets dark, and it's the day they serve meatloaf."
"Does Doggy know what meatloaf is?"
Doggy understands human words. He remembers because that lady always says, "Today's meatloaf day," every time.
Kate continued talking to Max, and then she shared more disturbing information.
On meatloaf days, the strange smell is always there, and it's getting stronger. Doggy says Grandma is getting weaker. The day before yesterday, lots of people came and took Grandma away.
The day before yesterday. My mother had indeed been taken to the hospital by ambulance. The lots of people were likely the paramedics. This recent hospitalization was why I had come to visit. The hospital had done food allergy tests but found no cause, dismissing it as a coincidence. But this seems too coincidental to be random. Could Kate really be talking to the dog? But I still couldn't fully believe it. Then Kate continued.
Doggy has something to say. Doggy heard Uncle and Aunt talking. They don't think a dog can understand human words, so they talk about everything in front of Doggy.
And what did they talk about? I asked, growing more alarmed. Kate relayed that she had overheard them plotting something.
They want Grandma's inheritance. What's inheritance?
You mean inheritance? I gasped. A 5-year-old wouldn't know about inheritance. Could this strange story be true? My mother did have an inheritance from my father, enough to ensure her comfort in old age, including the house and land. But the idea that my kind sister-in-law would harm my mother was hard to believe. I felt confused and couldn't dismiss my daughter's story as mere fantasy.
Doggy loves Grandma and wants to help her. Doggy wants you to do something.
Kate pleaded. Help Grandma? Yes, we must help her. I decided, still skeptical but willing to trust Kate and Max.
So, I just said earlier that lady was trying to get rid of Grandma, right? If we don't act fast, that lady might hide the evidence. I'm sorry, Doggy, for giving us away.
Kate finally realized that because of her actions, her beloved Grandma is in danger, and she's now in tears.
Is Grandma going to die?
Kate asked, almost in tears. No, we'll make sure she's safe. I reassured her. Anyway, as Kate said, we need to act immediately to prevent any tampering with evidence. I need to stop Carol and my brother's conspiracy. Carol had left the room, so I decided to act quickly to find the supposed poison in the kitchen. When I arrived, Carol was rummaging around. What are you doing, Carol?
Oh, Amelia, just organizing the kitchen. There's so much clutter.
She looked uneasy, like she had been caught doing something she shouldn't. Let me help. It must be hard to do it alone.
No, you're a guest.
We're family, not guests. We should help each other. I insisted, starting to help despite her protests. If Carol is poisoning my mother, the poison must be here in the kitchen. I began to chat with Carol to gather information. I'm sorry for the trouble my mother is causing. She was hospitalized the other day.
Yes, the day before yesterday. We're worried about her health.
Carol seemed genuinely concerned, not like someone plotting harm. Then Max barked and rushed into the kitchen, sniffing at a trash bag.
Hey, Max, stay out of the kitchen.
Carol tried to stop him, but Max, despite being called a poodle, is a dignified adult dog. He is about the size of a medium-sized dog. Despite being over 10 years old, he is still strong and managed to break free from my sister-in-law, sticking his nose into the garbage bag to pull something from the trash. What's this? I asked, taking it from Max. It was a package of rat poison. It's still full. Why are you throwing this away?
Well, if Max happens to eat it like he did just now, that would be troublesome, right? It's about decluttering. Rather than that, if Max puts it in his mouth, it would be troublesome, so I'll put it out of reach.
She tried to forcefully take it from Max, but he wouldn't let go of it. However, when I reached out, he casually handed it over to me. I'll put it away. I pretended to put it on a high shelf, secretly pocketing some of the poison. Then I continued helping Carol, determined to find evidence of her wrongdoing. Afterward, I returned to Kate with Max, took the poison bait out of my pocket, and showed it to Kate and Max. Max sniffed the poison bait and snorted. What do you think, Kate? What is Max saying?
This is it. Max says it's the strange smell.
It seems that what was mixed into the meatloaf was indeed this. In small quantities, the strong flavor of barbecue sauce could mask the strange taste. According to my mother, my sister-in-law usually cooked with very strong flavors. When my mother suggested lighter seasoning, my sister-in-law would say,
"Emil's taste buds are getting weaker. I want you to enjoy flavorful food."
This makes sense if the goal was to disguise the taste of the poison bait in the meatloaf with the strong seasoning. I noticed a smell of barbecue sauce coming from the kitchen. Could it be? My sister-in-law was planning to finish my mother off today. I exchanged glances with my daughter. She nodded and gave Max an eye signal as well. The three of us were now fully united.
"I'm sorry, but it's almost time for dinner. Could you please leave?"
My sister-in-law gently spoke to me with a smile. It didn't look like the face of someone about to take a life. My daughter then came up with a clever idea.
Hey, that smell is meatloaf, right? I want to eat it too.
That's right. Since we're here, why don't we stay over?
Yay! I can play with Doggy more.
What? That would be inconvenient.
My sister-in-law was visibly flustered, sweating nervously. What's inconvenient? The fact that you can't poison Mother?
What are you talking about?
You heard my daughter earlier, didn't you? She said you were trying to get rid of Grandmother, according to Doggy. My sister-in-law's expression changed from calm to a sharp glare.
Are you seriously going to believe your daughter's imagination?
Yes, I will. She's my daughter, after all.
You and your daughter are crazy.
But we have proof. I pulled the poison bait my sister-in-law had tried to discard out of my pocket. Her face turned pale. According to Kate, Max says he always smelled this poison in the meatloaf. You served meatloaf the day before yesterday too, right?
How do you know that?
My sister-in-law was visibly shaken. Kate heard it from Max. And every time meatloaf was served, my mom ended up in the hospital.
Well, that was not intentional.
So, you admit it. You mixed something in on purpose. My sister-in-law bit her lip, realizing her slip of the tongue. I already told my mother. She won't eat anything you make anymore.
Why are you saying such awful things? Does everyone believe this delusional little girl?
She pointed at my daughter with hatred, but Kate looked her straight in the eye, unafraid. Max stood in front of Kate, growling protectively. My sister-in-law recoiled in fear. There's no one left in this house to support you, including the dog.
It wasn't on purpose. It just happened to get mixed in while cooking.
I understand. If that's what you say, then I'll choose to believe Carol.
Thank goodness. Amelia, you won't abandon me, right?
Sister-in-law showed a relieved, bright smile, but I retorted to her like this. If that's the case, please let me eat the meatloaf you prepared for Mother.
What? No, you can't do that.
Why not? If it wasn't intentional, then there shouldn't be a problem today, right? I pressed her, and she lowered her head, unable to say anything. Max said my brother was part of the plan. Is that true? She reluctantly nodded. You might as well give up. I'll call the police once my brother returns. My sister-in-law whimpered and collapsed in tears. But why serve meatloaf today? You just served it the day before yesterday.
It had to be today. I needed MIL gone quickly because debt collectors are coming. I promised to pay off the debt with the inheritance. That's why.
She wailed, sobbing for her selfish reasons. I looked down at her in disbelief. She tried to kill my mother for something like that. Unforgivable. I've recorded our conversation. There's no escaping now. My sister-in-law repeatedly apologized, bowing her head. Kate looked puzzled.
Is it over? Is Grandma safe now?
Max licked her cheek reassuringly. Later, my brother was arrested by the police who had arrived earlier. He tried to deny everything.
I didn't do anything. I didn't know.
But my sister-in-law, furious at being betrayed, confessed their conspiracy, and they both ended up behind bars. My mother was incredibly grateful. She said,
If anything happens to me, all the inheritance goes to Amelia and Kate.
Kate cheered as if she had just received candy. Thank you, Mom. But you have to live a long time.
Yeah, Doggy would be sad if you left.
Max barked in agreement. Our laughter echoed in the now peaceful house. How did you like this story? Don't forget to subscribe to our channel. See you in the next video.